Ready. I'm ready.
Oh, what? So stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still surprised my parents will be fine. Okay, we will call the
Already on.
May 17th, 2021 Commissioners meeting to order. We have a quorum present, so we will do business, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't have to stumble down the fence anymore.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the minutes from the May 3rd, 2021 meeting. Anyone have any changes? Seeing none, I move that we approve the minutes. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have the claims on the county. The voucher expense report. Any changes or questions on that? I move that we approve as presented.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And finally, we have the payroll. Any questions or additions, changes to that?
No.
I'll move that we approve the payroll.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. The only question I had was on one of the, I saw that we were paying Lock Tech multiple, I think one in your office, one in EMA, one in the court. Is that for those stand-up desks? Do you know who that is? Are the people getting the ones where the desktop
Yes.
moves up and down?
I thought it was, I didn't know their name was Lock Tech. I thought it was Flexi Spot or something like that, but it could be, Lock Tech could be their company.
And if anybody wants those, they're just taking it out of their
Their
office
own
supplies?
budgets. They're not office supplies. I'm taking that equipment in my budget line item.
I didn't know if there was, I'd never noticed them before, but it seemed like I think there was 3 different departments that had them this time, so I didn't know if
There was 3. Our office got them, EMA got them, and then probation got one.
And the ladies in your office seem to be awfully excited
They
about
love them.
Okay. I don't think I had any other comments on anything. Highway supervisor report?
Good morning.
money.
Yeah.
Not really, I guess.
It's kind of spread out, yeah. Okay, equipment bid awards. The following bids and quotes were examined and considered. The results are as follows. The sanitation chassis, which was, we had 2 bidders. One of them, Sternberg Incorporated, for $72,315 with the trade. They met all of the specifications in the proposal. Berkshire Ford was the other one. They came in with a bid of $67,950 with trade. But there were several items there: FS4, ES1, ES2, DB1, and CE18. I thought I'd pull that up here where they didn't meet. And I think one of the biggest ones, well, obviously our diagnostic equipment that we have at the garage basically complies with Cummins engines. However, the one thing here that concerned me probably the most is FS4. They've got a 21,000 pound rating. And I think when you look in the outlay of the vehicle itself, the proposal, they are adding 2,000 pounds of overweight leaf springs to compensate to get to the 23,000, where the other proposal is giving us 23,005 plus an additional 4,500 pounds more for overloads. The tanks that go on these things are already heavy. They're big, they're metal, they've got big cylinders for compacting, that type of thing. So quite a bit of dead weight to even get started. So we need as much as we can on those single axle chassis in order to be able to haul anything.
But if they are giving the extra to get to the spec, wouldn't that be a yes instead of a no, or it's not?
Well, no, because we're asking for the axle, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We're asking for the axle to be this right here. They're adding
something else.
They're adding something else to make it come up to this one here, but the other one does meet that, and they're also adding extra, to compensate for an overload, so.
I'm just curious what the diagnostic equipment that you have at the garage, what kind of investment would we have to make to be able to have diagnostics on the other engines?
Oh, boy.
What is the other engine? Is it Ford?
It's,
Yes.
Power stroke.
Yeah, and it's also a V8, where we've just had really good luck with the inline sixes. I think Solid Waste here just a couple of years ago was advised to get rid of the one they had prior to getting the new truck that they've got now. And
They had, they had several 100,000 miles on that truck. I mean, the truck, they were having issues, but the truck was 10 plus years old, if I remember correctly. I just wonder because, we're looking at what, 68, about 4,000, 4,500 in difference in the two bids here. And if we're able to diagnose the Power Stroke engine, I understand the other specs it didn't meet, but if that's the difference in diagnostics, if we can buy that equipment for $4,000, then subsequent bids, we can include that in our spec. So, I kind of feel like it kind of Sternberg and Ruxer, or not Sternberg, Ruxer doesn't really have a shot at this because that's what they sell.
What's ES1, 2, what are those?
Here where they had the V8 Power Stroke, where we're asking for the Cummins, that also basically this engine and this transmission that they're providing, you're gonna find in their heavy ton trucks, that type of thing. Where our trucks are it's a heavier load.
The Cummins though, I don't know about the transmission, but the Cummins is the same. It's the same, like, long engine. They do the same thing with the Cummins stuff.
Okay.
I just want to be fair when we bid out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like, if we spec a Cummins engine, can we spec a Chevy? No, you didn't bid a Chevy, so we can't take it. So I just want to make sure we're being very forthright with all this and, and the bid difference is relatively significant. It's almost $5,000. So.
And Greg, whenever we do this, and you guys may know this too, are we allowed to do it in such a way that, effectively, like you said, you're eliminating competition. There's only one person that sells the thing that you're asking for bids. So I guess another company that sells Cummins engines could bid against, so like an Evansville company could bid against them, but effectively we're not bidding.
And I think, there's other trucks that use the Cummins, am I right?
Yes. And
I think if you go far enough up the Ford line, I think you can get a Cummins, but, and the Duramax is a 6-cylinder. diesel. So it basically just eliminates the four.
I guess on one hand, I'm saying, I trust what you're saying, and I want,
Oh, and I
I
get
want you to have the vehicles that you think are the best, you have the most best experience with, but I'll make sure we're playing by
I get it
whatever
too. We
rules
went
there are.
through the
too.
same thing with the ambulance. Susan didn't want to spec out a V8 diesel. Like, they had issues with them. She didn't want to have one. So they were coming through Duramax only when she spec'd. So,
Yeah, and a lot of this is really coming from, whether it's the auto trader reviews or whatever, I mean, that stuff is out there where you can find that your inline sixes are more efficient, they're more durable, as opposed to the V8. You can find a lot of that information.
now you actually spec the Cummins here. I thought you just spec the 6-cylinder.
No,
So,
Well, the Cummins was in there basically because of our diagnostic equipment. I mean, obviously, if we, put something different, then, but I think once this trade is made, all we have is Cummins engines now. So, kind of makes it easier and simpler, and our diagnostics is all the same, and we'll look to doing something different, but like I said, the specs that we generate aren't intended to eliminate anybody or be that way. They're just results out of what we've been seeing for a long time of going through this, what's working and what isn't. And that's what's created our specifications, so.
I understand that, but consequently, it does eliminate two different brands and leaves you with only, one option on these bids. So outside of, locally here, the only person or only company that can bid it is Sternberg. And beyond that, it just, other dealerships out of the county, so.
Okay.
because it's under 150,000, that changes a little bit about what we can do, and I understand it too a little bit.
Well,
If we were above that threshold, I think we would have to document that this is not a comparable spec. And the other thing that I wonder about, if we went with Ford, Sternberg sells Ford, and they could come back and say, that, we didn't think that met the specs. We
Yeah.
didn't bid that because we didn't think that met the specs.
well,
But I'm not saying we should go with the Ford here. I'd like to see us maybe add the diagnostic equipment to at least do the Duramax. So if you want to spec a 6-cylinder diesel, then
I'm talking to our mechanic, and he said it's $5 to $7 grand per motor. So if we put in a power stroke, it's $5 to $7 grand. If we put add a Duramax, it's $5 to $7
but
grand.
what I'm getting at is this one truck right here is $4,500. So if we bought 2 trucks, we'd already pay for that.
You asked what the cost was, and that's
Right.
what it is.
So, if we could add a Duramax and spec a 6-cylinder diesel, I think that opens us up a lot more to competition, and it doesn't look so much like we're strictly buying those. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with how we did this one. I just think that we need to get it opened up somehow.
okay, yeah, we can work on that, but I think that, the big catcher is here, is the weight,
Suspension.
the suspension,
Right.
And that seems like a fair way to eliminate
basically
somebody.
my,
You say,
right.
basically my kicker here, because it's gonna have that big tank on it anyway, so.
Totally understand.
Would you like to award these individually, or do
Yes.
the whole,
Yes,
okay?
because we've also got another one in here where there's a low bidder, but again, it was different. It's a smaller classification truck.
This one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, let's go ahead and consider this one. We have a bid from Sternberg Incorporated and Bruxer Ford. The only qualifying proposal is from Sternberg Inc. under the specifications put out. I'll move that we accept the bid from Sternberg Incorporated.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, the next one was the sanitation compactor. We only had one bidder on that one. It was Pyramid Equipment. The price came in at $83,225 with delivery of 120 days after they received the chassis. So if we're looking at the sanitation chassis coming in between 150 and 180 days, we're gonna have to add another 120 days for Pyramid to get that piece put on, built, and get it to us. So we're probably looking at March of 2022. So, but I would recommend awarding the bid here to Pyramid Equipment.
Any discussion? Move that we award the sanitation compactor to Pyramid Equipment for $83,225.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, single axle chassis, there were two bidders. Sternberg had the bid with a trade of $56,546.76. Brookshire had a bid of $65,400 with trade. So here's the low bidder. They can deliver in 150 and 180 days. So I would recommend going with the specification of the low bid, or awarding the low bidder here.
Move that we award the single axle chassis to Sternberg, $56,546.76.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, dump truck bid, we had two bidders. IMCO had a price of $14,704.62. Helpers, $14,818.67. I recommend awarding to IMCO, and they are expecting delivery in December of 2021.
I recommend, or I move that we accept the low bid from IMCO, $14,704.62.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, the flatbed truck, two bidders here. Bob Liggers Motors had one for $29,000. Sternberg Ford had one for $14,818.67. Recommend awarding the bid to Sternberg Ford. Delivery should be within 6 to 8 months.
Is Sternberg Ford different than Sternberg Incorporated?
They're out of Dale.
Okay. Any comment on that one? I move that we approve the Sternberg Ford flatbed truck at $14,818.67.
I'll second.
First and a second, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
When you indicate they're out of Dale, it's still the same.
It's still,
It's still the
yeah,
same people, maybe a different company, I don't know, but it's still the same
the
people.
Sternberg family.
They purchased Connor Ford several years ago at Dale.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is Sternberg's. Okay. And the engineer SUV, two bidders, Bob Liggers Motors of $41,200, Sternberg $38,537.66. Okay.
Was it a trade or what are we doing in that situation?
That was with a trade as well.
What are you guys trading?
We are trading a 2008 Chevy work truck. So I'd recommend awarding to Sternberg there as well. Delivery is 6 to 8 months.
Whenever they say they're gonna deliver something, if they don't, just there any penalty or anything, or just like we just have to kind of
We
wait?
could,
Just have to wait. Basically,
What's that?
we could if we wanted to, but, yeah.
I didn't know if that ever happened, or if that, because now it seems like for the first time since I've been a commissioner, maybe a likely thing that it gets pushed off.
and it kind of is what it is, but it gives us an idea to plan, especially coordination of, say, the sanitation chassis and the sanitation compactor. The compactor people will not build that unit until the chassis is delivered to their location. So the problem we have, we bid it now, and it takes, say, 150 days to get built, and they deliver it to Texas where Pyramid is for them to build, and now you're looking at an additional 120 days. How long does the vendor who provided that chassis have to get paid? So I've got something in here that they can get 90%. Once it's been delivered to Pyramid, we'll give them 90% to cover their costs, but we're still holding 10% in case there's an issue. Okay. So basically, we're holding that bid bond until the whole unit is delivered and we see that it is made spec. So.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, I move that we approve the Sternberg Ford Engineer SUV for $38,537.66.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay. Item 2, seal coat scheduling. Seal coat treatments will begin with weather permitting on Monday, May 24th. This will include the following roads of Holland Road East, the Summerside Addition in Brettsville, Arrowhead Subdivision in Ireland, Hayesville Road West, County Road 330 North, and County Road 300 North, east of the Kellerville Road. That should be about a 3-day project there to get all of those done. Basically, it's a fog seal that's going down, it's a sand mix that's with it. Take about an hour and a half or so for each shot to go down. It's a one-shot application. So we'll have pace trucks there, we'll have roads temporarily, not shut down, there'll still be one-lane traffic. But we'll get through all of those. But I would say if the weather is on our side, should be, 3 full days to get through it all.
Once it's down, how soon can someone drive on it?
Probably about an hour and a half for it to dry.
Okay, maybe I missed you saying that, I'm sorry.
Okay. And the last one, chip seal overlays and repair. Those are going to begin on around Tuesday, June the 1st, I'm sorry. And we'll go for a few weeks where we'll transition into the patch repairs. Some of these will include new chip seal paving of Dixie Lane, which is being covered by a bond by the developer who built that subdivision. That's paying for that one. And then County Road 720 East, which is on our list. So that will be done this year. And that's all I've got.
Heather, have anything further?
Steve, I'll give you this letter that I have. We talked last time, Commissioner Casillas in Crawford County about the logging issue over there. And what's the name of the road? Something Hill.
Borden Hill.
Borden Hill.
Oh, yes.
So I asked him for contact information. He just gave me a copy of that. Do with it whatever you want to. I mean, if you can glean the contact information off of that letter, if you want to talk to somebody, but I think we talked about it last time that there's not a whole lot of, that is an issue for us or that we have control over, but I'll just give it to you so that you can kind of see what they're talking about.
Okay. Thanks, Elmer.
Brent?
I'm short and sweet. I can get done in 5 minutes. I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, community crossings, I have the agreement, Chad, you had seen it, correct? For community crossings. So I have the agreement, Greg has reviewed it as well. We do recommend it for approval. I have it set up 2 different ways. It says that we can have one commissioner sign it if it's in the minutes, that you guys, that as a board, you approve his signature, or all 3 of you can sign it. I have it set up both ways, so that it says up to you guys, however you guys want to do it. So, there's the agreement, and if you go back to the signature page, it's there, so I have it set up for your signature, or if you all 3 want to sign it, I have it set up that way with all 3 of your signatures. So,
He's prepared.
He is, that's good stuff.
however you guys want to do it.
I say his signature, you want all 3?
It doesn't matter if he's got it, we want to sign it.
We're all.
Yeah, all 3 signed it.
Then you don't have to follow it up.
Then sign it, doesn't matter.
I gotta send minutes in and everything.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
So it's $628,114.89.
Correct.
We're familiar with this, we've done it before. We have to do a 25% match, correct?
Correct.
It's ready to go to council next week.
Yep.
Transfer it over.
And we will go for the second.
Yeah, I have the projects actually set up already for the second.
That being blue.
Huh?
Blue.
And they still
Yes,
have,
yes, blue, yes.
they still have Curtis Hill on them. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah, they said, I talked to her about that, she said, they ran it up their chain, and they said, don't worry about it, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's their agreement, so I said, okay.
All right, good enough. So I move that we agree to sign the local roads and bridges matching grant agreement.
One second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You had 3 projects, 2 were approved.
I had 2 projects, 1 was approved. I have 4 roads, or 3 roads on this one, I have 4 roads on the other one,
Okay,
so.
okay, and you'll apply for that other one again in the fall?
Yep. And then we'll do that we'll have that ready to go for next spring.
Was there communication as to why it wasn't approved?
Not enough money. It was a generic answer.
I'm sorry.
Not enough money, that's all they said, it's just not enough money.
That's what I.
That's kind of what I figured was gonna happen,
Yeah.
you know, and that's fine, I respect that. There's just only-
You gotta tell somebody no.
Yeah. It was just funny, it was just a real generic, not enough money, sorry. I was like, oh, okay.
And we got the million before.
Well, because they had to reply to that same email 15
Yeah,
times.
exactly, they probably copy paste. So. I respect that. I wish they would give us a score sheet so we knew if we did have something
Here's where you
messed
said,
up.
Yeah.
Why this project, why they take this one over the other, of the 2 I submitted, why they take that one? Not a big deal. I just wish I had a score sheet. That's my only. I get it. They have a lot to go through.
Sandy, signed it?
No, she does not have to attest to it. No.
Appreciate you doing all that work on that. I know a lot of counties have to get consultants to do that.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate.
The last thing I got is an invoice from Structure Point for $502.87. It's for phase 2A of the current grid construction we're in. So I have reviewed it and they do recommend for approval.
Any questions? I move that we move forward with paying the invoice to American Structure Point at $502.87. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Next up, GIS limited use agreement, mapping solution, mapping solution for Blackwell to the 2 different things.
It's,
Same thing, that's the reason for the request.
I have 2 different things here. The GIS limited uses so that we can use the maps for our plat books that we're gonna get you know how we sell the flat books?
Mapping Solutions.
Mapping
makes them.
Solutions makes them, so I have that contract here.
Greg and Roland.
GIS,
Chris and I have gone through them both, and we've worked with GIS to make sure there's no fees to be associated, if that would be at our expense. Seems silly since it's our data, so we're ready to proceed with it. We had to put it off a couple of times, I think we put it off last year because a lot of stuff.
COVID kind of, yeah.
When you say we sell the plat books, these are the old traditional plat books that
Spiral
we
bound.
buy, paper copies of the
Believe it or
map.
not, people come in all the time and wanting to know when we're gonna get these books.
That was my next question as to, how many of those are we still selling?
So we get a bulk order, and we get a sell for a rate, and then they have an online store that they sell it as well. It's higher than our rate. And then they also have wall maps and things of that nature that they'll sell as well.
We still get walk-ins wanting the book.
When's the last one produced?
We have not had one in over a year and a half, probably 2 years.
I think it's 18 or 19 years.
Well, we ran out of them before COVID.
And we were working on this contract last year, and then it just.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking at here. On this page, it says products purchased, it has a sign here, sticker, and we initial.
You have to
You have to
initial
initial every
agree
one of
with the
these?
prices. Like we're gonna get some wall map. You initial by the plat books, you initial by the wall map, and you initial by the shipping or the whatever's on the bottom.
Just for the category.
Yes.
So we purchase them and we sell them at cost or slightly above cost.
It's above cost. I think it's like $20 or something.
And what do they cost us? 15 plus shipping.
Yes.
And then they give us a big print one too, a wall map, is that right?
Yeah, it's,
Complimentary wall map, 1 or 2, I think.
And then on the back, it says, sponsor has the option to commit to an updated second or next edition at the same price. Terms and specifications of this edition. Second edition must be published no earlier than 2 years and not exceed 4 years from the anniversary date. That's an option that the auditor wants.
Yes.
yeah.
And then down here,
Quite quickly, we want to be able to reprint them.
the terms shall be incorporated with the laws of the state of Missouri.
Just that one.
We're good with that?
We were not. Sorry,
We're not good with that?
I am not.
Okay. So hold this off,
I'd say we can,
approve it based on that change.
yes.
So, I will move that we approve the agreement with Mapping Solutions and give myself, the president of the board, permission to sign as the sponsor at such time as the laws of the state of Missouri are replaced. I'll stick
I
with that.
will reach out to Chris and see if we can contact him, but yes.
I'll second.
Okay, got a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You wanna look at it? There it is.
So we don't.
That way we don't all,
You're the
there's only one place for a signature anyway. So we will do that. And then we have the other for the DuBois County GIS Limited Use Agreement between DuBois County and Mapping Solutions, that other firm there. I'll move that we approve this agreement.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So this one is good. This one still needs some work. American Rescue Plan Act ordinance discussion.
This
was, sent out a draft of the ordinance. I know that the Commissioner Blessinger met with the committee. I made those revisions. I think I've sent it back out to you guys. I didn't know if you had additional questions, discussions. If not, I think there may have been a change on, Sandy, I know I'll put you on the spot. You were looking at how we put in a request or apply for that now.
I put in the request,
Okay.
it's pending signature, but he's never got the email to sign it.
Okay.
And I went in this morning and it still says pending, and I've tried to call him, nobody answers, obviously. They just give you a cue to push this, and you never get a live person.
So we.
But I did print the thing, so I wonder if he would just sign it, I could upload it that way.
Is there only one signature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I just realized I didn't pay past those.
which one was that?
Because I put him as the authorized user and me as the contact. It says it's usually the,
So to make a long story short, to get the money from the American Recovery Plan Act, we had to go into a portal, fill in different numbers that represent who we are to request those funds. And
I had to promise him pretty much my firstborn child.
so we had to sign something here, so
I don't know if it emails you, I don't know if, like I said, it just says pending.
So I say, I would move that we go ahead and we sign this hard copy of the coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund document in case the auditor can find a way to upload it and we can process it that way, because I haven't, as she mentioned, I haven't been reached for a signature.
Here's
We have a
what I
problem with that?
submitted. Here's screen prints of what I submitted, so.
All right, I move that we do that.
So is the money coming directly from the federal government then? From the
Well, I
treasury?
had to put in our bank account information and the routing and all that kind of numbers.
Yeah, so it's not coming through the state is what I'm getting at, as they initially indicated that it would.
It looks like it's coming from the feds.
Yeah, that's,
Well, it says the state of Indiana will distribute blah, 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 so. I just followed them. If you wanna read it, you're
yeah,
welcome to.
no, that's fine. That sounds like what they were discussing at the,
The federal government will
Board
make the
meeting
first payment
earlier.
of the funds to the state of Indiana, and then it says the state of Indiana will distribute.
All right, let's go ahead and finish that motion. I move that we approve this.
That's right.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So there's the hard copy of that. And then we've already, Sandy, for the record, did we formally approve this ordinance? I don't remember.
We did not, no.
Okay.
I was discussing it, I know I inserted in the dollar figures and things of that nature, as well as the proposed distribution for the plan. Again, not a hierarchy, just a list of phases. And then I jumped in asking Sandy where the money was.
Okay.
So if that's acceptable, then we can proceed with that too.
Do we have an order number or an ordinance number?
Did I not write it on there?
Oh, was
19.
that it? Okay, I'm sorry.
That would be the next ordinance number.
Okay, I move that we approve an ordinance creating a new fund for the receipt of monies from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, known as ordinance number 2021-19.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I apologize, I don't recall if I had my art committee meeting before or after our last meeting.
after.
Added after? Okay, so I gave you an update on what we talked about. So we met in this room as a group, and we reviewed a readiness checklist that was put out by Baker Tilly. The auditor has done some things on her side to be ready for that, and I just distributed that to everyone. I also distributed some information on what the money could be used for. I read to the group all of the requests that have come in so far, and I asked them to start determining priorities as they saw them. We discussed how that spending would happen and how the money would come in, and I guess somewhat to my surprise was that many in the room were, because it was a priority for me, but the room seemed to be in agreement with it. Prioritizing broadband was a thing that was important to people. I think Amy was there. And does that sound fair? Like, that seemed like that's what people were looking at. So later in the meeting today, I'll give some updates on some things I've been doing with the broadband issue. But for now, that's just what happened. We met as a group and gave out some information, and we'll meet again probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. I was just telling that group that I was waiting for future guidance, and the only guidance that seemed to come, it just seems like they're reiterating the same things that they've done before. Like the AIC sent, I think, 3 or 4 emails where you had the same video saying the same things that the money can be used for, the categories that we knew a month and a half ago already. So I don't know that I've gotten any real new strong guidance on anything. Sandy, have you?
We had a state commissioner board this meeting this week, and Rick Hall was talking about having received the, what is it, 200 page or something, 125 page extensive guidelines from the U.S. Treasury, and they're still going through it. And as they get through it, there will be some additional information come out, or guidance come out and sent to us. There was discussion whether to have a commissioner meeting, statewide commissioner meeting, bring everybody together and kind of determine maybe we're a little too early for that. And as they get guidance out of that document that came from the Treasury, they will use email, perhaps a Webinex, something like that, webinar, something like that to try to get as much information to us as possible.
That'd probably be a good idea, because somebody may have a wonderful idea in their part of the state that we hadn't even considered to put on our list of priorities, or.
And again, I know Rick stressed, and we all agreed that patience is the name of the game. This money, has to last us through, what is it, 2024, something like that. And even beyond that, I think, if you're under contract, it doesn't have to be spent until 2026. Right on that?
I know it has to be in a contract. I didn't know there was an end date on that. That makes sense if they're looking.
So patient, as I said, to make sure that something doesn't come later that would have taken a priority over something we think is a priority right now. And I would still suggest that revenue replacement still be a high priority. And that's one that we won't know until a couple of years from now or even more. Oh, and I know we've talked about the inflationary effect of that. 4.1% now. Originally they were saying compare 2019 to 2020. Now they're saying compare 2019 plus 4.1% to 2020. So that's part of the guidance that'll have to come out yet on that. I think that's part of that U.S. Treasury guidance. So, yeah.
And that was brought up in the group too, but I guess I look at that as that's the automatic, and then the things that we're worried about would be priorities after that.
Right.
I do have some concern that we're prioritizing broadband over the sanitary sewers, as we have some residents in the county who have raw sewage running down the ditch right in front of their homes. And as technology advances wirelessly, I don't want to go spend millions of dollars putting wires in the ground when maybe 5 years from now, internet comes to us completely wirelessly through 5G technology. So I do have some concern with that.
We can go ahead and talk about that part now, so if you want. I talked with, I don't know if I want to put their names out, but I talked to major vendors that are doing internet stuff in DuBois County that have been awarded money through CAF, Connecting American Funds, and there's another one. So I'll give you the summary of my 4 hours of sitting with them. I was surprised by how much internet is coming to DuBois County already, how many holes will be filled and are in plans to be filled. The thing that I think is the bad thing is one of those pots of money that from the state has to be spent within the next 2 years, and the one from the federal government I think is 5 years, 5 or 6 years I think. So that we can say, hey, good news everybody, internet's coming, you're gonna get high-speed internet, it's gonna be 100 down, 20 up minimum. The bad news is if you're in the wrong location, it may be 5 years before you get it, but it's coming. And so the maps that I looked at, I was surprised because I wasn't aware of this most recent round of funding, because I do it by census blocks, and they're little tiny weird shaped, there's bunches of them in DuBois County, and this one will get it, right next to it won't get it. But my understanding is if this part gets it and they're running the lineup, from a financial standpoint, there's nothing saying they can't serve these people, they just must serve these people. So whenever they even show numbers such as this company, PSC, got a grant request of, they had $5 million request, they had a local match of 2.8 million, and they're supposed to do 1 gig. And this is supposed to give 565 households and 121 businesses. I'll pass this over. This is some dots of where they're going. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because if they're going to that dot, they can go to the dot that's in the same neighborhood. So it's really serving more people, more businesses than what's on here. But some of these things are slowly going forward. I also have a call into AT&T. I talked to their state of Indiana guy, and he put me in touch with their regional guy, because I want to look at all those things. And my understanding from talking to those two companies, the first company said they're putting a data ring around the county, and then they can shoot off from there to serve people. Part of their plan is to put fiber to the home in some places, and towers that go 90 degrees, that's before on one tower to serve an area. And that's why they said line of sight is, so at the end of the day, they said fiber to the home is the best, and both of these companies I think would agree that that's the best, and that technology won't go away. They said ever, but everything changes. Then they said the next thing would be line of sight is the best. Then they have the third thing, which is a radio option or an LTE option, where you don't even need line of sight, but they said that is the poorest of the 3 options. So they are looking at those things, but they said still they know that this other technology is in process, but it's nowhere near.
I think where my current concern lies, it would be liking it to having cable TV in your house or a toilet. And I think the toilet obviously should be a higher concern than whether or not you have the cable TV.
Oh, absolutely, no.
And it's not that I have a concern about bringing internet in. I'm one of the guys that's underserved on internet. I have very poor internet where I live, and I would love to have high speed. But I'm trying to make sure that our priorities stay straight. And while it's kind of sexy and fun to run broadband out to everybody's homes, and we got the money to do it, I don't think that should be our number one priority when we have, like I said, raw sewage running down the ditches in front of some people's homes.
Sure. Where I was leading my comment to next was, I asked that first company, if we had some money to give you, and we were going to give you a grant, let's just say it's an unlimited amount of money, whatever it is, and they're like, they were making it seem like we don't really need the money, we've got a plan, we've got the money to implement all this stuff already. I thought for sure that if I was on their side, I would have probably said, I can find a way to use your money to increase our profits. They weren't like that either. They said, look, here's a map, we're going to all these places, we know what we're doing for the next 4 years, your money isn't real needed. The next group, yeah, it's not gonna change anything, it's not gonna make more fiber available from a factory that produces the fiber, and it's not gonna give them more labor to put it up. So they have a plan, and they're already moving forward, so, but I'll go back and report to that group is, they really don't have much use for our money. There was one suggestion to get the fiber around, they go on poles from our local REC that owns all the poles. They said about the only one thing that we could be helpful with would be to have those poles ready. They said make ready poles, have the path ready, so that when these people want to go and put it up, it speeds it up. But again, it's not 4 million of our 8 million.
Right,
it's
right.
A little bit of money to help push that forward. So I guess when I report that to those people, I was like, we don't have a place to spend, even if we said that was more important than toilet, that just moves it right down to the money is all available for other needs. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I think my suggestion, and then I'm sure you're talking about this, that this committee put together some type of a grant application process. And then when we get applications, then this group and recommending to us and to the council, determination of, is this a priority? Does this fit our priority list? And broadband is way up there on our priority, and you've got a good need, and it's going to be effective, and it's going to be money well spent. We do it knowing that we want a reasonable amount, we want this amount left over for regional sewers and that sort of thing. So I think it's a process that we just work through, and I think it starts with we've had people and companies contact us about needing money or wanting money. I think, my suggestion would be to have some type of a formal grant procedure in place to where they fill out the form, submit it, and then a determination is made.
Ordinance code codification discussion?
Simply, we did get the final drafts back. It is online now on being legal. Saying that we could discuss getting a link put on our homepage that would directly link to that at the appropriate time. The code books are up there for you guys to take a look at and review. I will work on an accepting ordinance or an adoption ordinance for your consideration for our first meeting in June. And then we've got 15 hardbound copies that we're going to distribute. We'll keep track of those, and then when we do have updates that come through, bring all those back in, swap them out, and distribute them.
So are we going, like this ordinance we passed earlier, are we going to start putting them in the back of each of these, or are we going to stockpile them and do it at one time?
I'll take direction from you. I think some of them would be, obviously the easiest thing is just do it at the end of the year. And then we're only updating it once a year. Alternatively, though, there are some ordinances with that, and I'm not saying some ordinances are more weighty, more important than others. And those we may want to have out there sooner rather than later. I'm happy to do it on a quarterly basis, semi-annual or annual basis. I don't think we need to send them one at a time, just as we adopt them.
So you're here at every meeting that we adopt one, so you just want to keep a copy?
I'll keep them compiled, and more or less I have them in a Word version as well, which they'll appreciate when I send them to them. I'll follow up with them and see if they want them more frequently than annually, and we'll plan accordingly.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schneider. Any questions for him on the ordinance codification? Yep. Okay. No, I thank you for doing that, and I'll review it, and I think we'll all check out the.
There was we did get the invoice for it. It was the amount contracted for, and then there was some overage based on the size of the book. I didn't see that last page. It just came through, so I don't know if you put that in the, claims yet or not.
I have not,
So,
I had it written on the envelope.
So we have an
Did you check
invoice
out
for
the-
$2,074 just to finish paying them for their work. Mr. Nair, you want this? Give it back to you.
give it to this morning.
All right, so I think we're in good shape with that, unless any of the commissioners have a question on it. No. All right, so next at 9:15, we're a little behind, but we have a surplus item to discuss. A list was sent to us.
I sent you that
We
list.
have everything from VHS training manuals to mannequins to broken computers. Did anybody have any questions or comments, needs on any of these?
I saw the whole list and my only suggestion would be on the managers. I don't know whether there's any parties expressing interest in them or not. Would there be churches or social organizations out there that do a first aid?
Well, they can't really use these for that anymore
Okay.
because they need the feedback from them when you get certified. But the ambulance, Amanda at EMS said they reach out to fire departments just as practice things, you know?
I thought that was a good idea, and maybe, Tammy with EMA could help.
Tammy said she doesn't want,
Okay, I didn't know,
Okay,
because
I've
she's
already
got
asked her.
contact with all the fire departments, was why I mentioned.
Amanda has the list and would do it.
That's fine by me.
So if you want to, so you're gonna send an email to Amanda saying if we declare them surplus, that she
She
could,
can take care
disperse
of
them if she likes.
dispersing to fire departments as needed or whatever.
will you put me on that email, please?
Yeah.
All right, so, I don't see anything here that is, that we need to keep or take any further consideration on myself. The items from 911 have been emailed out, no one has taken them.
Right, and I did talk to him about the case going to St. Vincent or the Restore, so. He's,
Yeah, I see,
Okay.
the only other thing that we didn't discuss is what to do with old cell phones. People are asking what to do with old ones, and I
think we need to turn them in and recycle.
Commissioner Bromas, you wanna make that a part of your cell phone policy discussion when you're there, and you can make a determination? I think that'd be good to have it part of the policy, have all the information in one place. I'll move that we use everything, take everything that's on this list and declare it surplus to be disposed of as the department see fit.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Would you like that back?
Couple minutes.
Okay. We're gonna take a couple minutes and then we'll be back with
I
the
didn't bring my keys.
courtroom recording system.
I'm gonna get your key.
Yep.
You got it.
Yeah.
Mine on a different key chain.
Yeah.
It's almost like 6 degrees bacon over there. Yeah. I know this person, knows that person, knows that person.
She's still putting it under here. Hey, Greg's asking me what they're gonna do with the jail, the spreadsheet. She said Barnes and Thornburg is our new, they took Denton's place, they're not on.
We're a little behind and they don't.
She don't think we paid anything.
Good for now.
We've been doing it all for free.
Yeah.
See how it works in your office.
Brooks County Insurance appraisal isn't on there.
I got my second one. Johnson Johnson?
That was one day later.
Listen.
No, I definitely think we can have a conversation first.
No.
Just enough.
I'm further along than I was 2 weeks ago.
Park money from state saving.
It's all down there.
Makes a big
That's fine.
So we can discuss the temperature thing. And we can discuss.
All right, thanks.
Things we talked about last time, I think that's a good discussion.
I
And then
think you missed
He
it.
should
2 weeks.
And give him talk to us. He said.
Do it just like
those. Those are responsible for the fence. His own. So I didn't ask the name, you have any problems with the code. Also, that part of that question, you know, then they want to do it myself. I know it's- So, he said, yeah, just look at the speed, they'll tell me, and that's okay. So, whatever. So we keep our line up.
Yeah. So I just want to say, let's find out if you want.
We have another.
Whoever.
All right, we'll get the meeting back to order. We're going to discuss the courtroom recording system. Judge Burkamp and McConnell are here.
You're at.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Morning, good morning.
All right, so I guess what we're just asking today is for permission to go forward, looking into updating the recording systems in the courtroom. We're currently using FTR for the record. It is, to say the least, antiquated. But I should say that the software that we have now, in circuit court, we had to update. When we went to Odyssey, the computer in the circuit court got upgraded to a Windows 10. The software for FTR that we did have was about over 10 years old, so it just absolutely would not run. But the equipment itself and the mixers, I think, are original to the courthouse remodel. And so that technology is completely antiquated. Colin from Matrix is the only one that seems to be able to keep the system running. And he said he was able to find a driver for the mixer somewhere, but he said if that mixer ever goes bad, the whole system is out, you're done. So we just can't wait anymore. On the Superior Court and the third courtroom are on, if they ever get computers in, or on the list to be replaced because they're old and they're still running Windows 7 and they will have the exact same problems. So software upgrade, because it's been so long, it's like a $3,500 software upgrade from FTR. So both courtrooms would need that software upgrade. And that's working. So it's really probably time just to look at our recording system. I know we've had a jury trial. It stopped twice in the middle of a jury trial 2 weeks ago on Friday during a recording we were doing a termination of parental rights. It froze up, locked up, had to take a break, kind of get it started over again and start back. So we're just kind of limping along. We've gotten some quotes from Word Systems, really about the only purveyor in Indiana who originally installed all the equipment that we have, but they're no longer using FTR. They're using a program out of Louisville. And so we had some quotes from them for various different types of systems. And I think we settled on the kind of a mid-level quote, or kind of, which allows for 8 ports, And the only thing that we probably need in addition to them coming in and installing the system is probably retaining the services of Matrix to pull some Cat6 cabling, because the speakers themselves don't use the old speaker jacks like we have, the three wire speaker jacks. They would need Cat6 cables pulled to all the different stations, the bench, council tables, jury box, every place that there would be a speaker would need a Cat6 cable pulled to it. That would be an additional expense in addition to this quote. There are some monies. We did apply for a grant last fall, and I know it's been used for some other things, but there's looks like there may be very close to enough money to completely pay for the whole upgrade. So we just need your permission or blessing to make it happen.
I don't remember if it was Amy or Sandy, one of the two sent me information and a link to it, and they told me the situation. I think it must have been Sandy, and I'm in favor of moving forward with it, because I think it's portable too. If we needed to move it someplace in the future, I think that could happen. It's upgradable, so I thought those things were good. That if you wanted to do video in the future, there's a considerable expense for it, but you have that option.
The quotes the one quote is for not to be upgraded, the one has the upgraded that he's looking at, and the third quote back in there is the 71,000 or something, that's with all the video equipment already part of it. That's per courtroom.
And so do you think you have 45,000 there? I think 45,000 was about the range.
You should be real close to that grant.
I'm satisfied, well satisfied to grant approval
The
for that.
45,000 is per room,
No,
For the whole.
for the whole thing.
it's if the top quote is per courtroom, 15,000 per courtroom. But you have to do the cabling and stuff, which council will have to approve that next week.
Okay.
But the grant should cover almost all of it.
No, I mean, certainly make a great case for, it's old, when you're talking, when you said something about Windows 10, I'm thinking, oh, that's old.
Windows 7.
Then you got the Windows 7.
Yeah, we're still on Windows 7, so.
And, it needs, you can't have interruptions like that, shouldn't have interruptions like that to work.
And this-
Yeah, you have electrician's tape, is that what you're referring to?
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know what Magic Colin does, but he can make his system work.
He's the only one. He's really the only one at Matrix that can keep our system up and running and according to the server. And he's living in Florida now, so he's doing everything remotely.
Is the hardware or the products available?
Yes, she
Just
said
go back.
there's a lead time. I think she said about 3 months from the time we get, if we place an order before they could get in to install it all. But we would need that reserved courtroom space for them to come in and work anyway.
Well, we are trying to get the computers in their courtroom replaced. I've been trying since February. They keep back ordering them. So
So it's just a matter of
hopefully they
time,
think they found some.
I move that we approve the request to replace the recording system at an amount not to exceed $45,000 that the judges have in funds on hand.
That doesn't give me any money for cabling then.
Cabling.
Well, I think you said it was, I thought there were 13 something a piece.
No, it's
$15,000
$18 and some change.
$15,76. The 13 was only a 6-port system that didn't give us room for the lapel to run. We currently have lapel mics for the attorneys during jury trials when they're up walking around. We also have hearing enabled equipment to allow people to wear an earbud if they can't hear. We need it's the 1876.
So what's your bottom line for the whole system and installation?
But I don't know what Matrix, we haven't got. the
I haven't gotten a quote for the pulling of the cabling yet.
You don't think 45,000 would cover the whole project?
No,
No, it's-
that's
it's
just
15
that.
It's 1876 per courtroom, so 45 obviously would be short of that anyway, but.
15 plus 15 would be 30.
Plus,
$15,000,
and we have 3 quarters,
$18.
Oh, for the third quarter too, okay, I apologize. I thought you were just doing the two on your floor, okay.
No, we're gonna do everything.
That makes sense.
No, we can't be on a different system in one courtroom than all, we need to be coordinated.
And then the cabling,
I'll modify my motion to eliminate a dollar value, just if it exceeds what you have, you'll have to get that from the council.
which they're on the schedule for the council to get money next week.
So,
I'll second.
okay, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, very good. Thank you, appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
He's got my quote right, because I did
Yes.
that.
Well done.
Thank you, guys.
Treasurer McConnell, great job.
Thank you.
I was here just in case you need support.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Mr. Grolick is still trying to beautify Ireland.
Yes, sir.
So it looks pretty nice.
I agree,
Yes,
but it's getting better all the time.
yeah, so we're gonna try to make improvements. Obviously, last year we didn't have the event because of COVID, so we're gonna get back to it. So that's where it's at. So we've actually labeled it the Garbage Gallery. Garbage Gallery is the, kind of how we're, I think it's creative and unique, and that's what it's at. So we're shooting for June the 16th, which is a Wednesday. So I've been working, with Steve, talking to Steve a little bit, talking to Greg, with the insurance. So I think we have everything in place at this point. So just looking to get your guys' permission to, continue that beautification project. This time, I think, based on the dumpsters that we have a potential for 16 artists that want to come forward, because we have a front and back and that sort of thing. So we'll see where it goes. We're working with Jasper Community Arts. Emily Peak at Jasper Community Arts is the leader over there. So she's been gathering artists, and and what we do is they kind of give us a drawing of what's going to be first, because we want to make sure that it's, not controversial or anything like that. We want to see what's going to be. We didn't want it to be where they draw something and then we're shaking our heads and think it could be a little sketchy. So we've asked them to provide us drawings first.
And when you say we, you mean the committee at Ireland?
That's correct. That's correct.
And is that committee providing all the funding? It's, I don't know what.
That's correct. We
expenses
provide
are
the names
necessary,
and
but
everything else.
paintings and.
Right. There's the county, other than probably maybe moving some dumpsters away from the fence a little bit, there's no really out of the pocket additional cost. I mean, I know that costs money to have them move them, but for the most part, the Ireland Safe Action Committee is funding all of that cost. So yes, so June the 16th, and that's
Any concerns from the highway department, or from the sanitation department?
Yeah, the only thing we would need is, I think, we had put new boxes there, it's been about a month ago, I believe, something like that. We put the new ones in, got the old ones out, and I think they're requesting that they kind of get organized a certain way, so, to help us with our time, if we have an idea, can see that plan. When we have some free time, we can, get these put in place. We can get that sketch picture of that demonstration.
what he's referring to, there's like 5 boxes in a row, and we're trying to space them out a little bit. We're wanting to grab one and kind of put it in a line of others that are not looking as nice. So maybe we can kind of space them out a little bit, as opposed to having a lot of art in one place. We're trying to just trickle it in a little bit more. So
And how does the process work to get those painted? Does the artist come in and paint them right there on the spot, during times when the site is closed, or?
correct. We're going to do it on the June 16th, and that's a Wednesday, when the site is closed.
They're all gonna come in at the same time?
That's correct.
Right, okay.
Did you learn anything from the last time? I mean, is it holding up? Are they getting beat up? Do people?
Well, not really. I mean, other than I think it's status quo. We feel like, there's going to be some dings on it because of when they're being used. But for the most part, things are good. It's been neat. Actually, I know that we were out there not too long ago, and somebody was questioning the picture. I guess maybe it was a John Deere tractor, and although the artist was trying to stay neutral, to say that it wasn't necessarily John Deere. She painted it orange, although it had the front has a John Deere, and I don't know the difference, but it was a good conversation. So,
Good controversy.
Wait, was it John Deere?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I know people.
yeah, so it was a good conversation. It was fun. So,
I think it's neat. I appreciate the committee doing it. I don't know, but it's not the most critical business we do, but it's part of what
That's a
makes
cool
life
idea,
neat.
yeah.
Any concerns, anyone? I move that we approve, the request from the St. Patrick's Committee for the Ireland beautification of the garbage gallery to be accomplished June 16th in coordination with the Highway Department.
I will second your motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, thank you.
Okay, it's 9:46, our 9:55 has been canceled, so we have about 15 minutes until, the jail project portion of the agenda. So I'm gonna bring up a couple issues, we'll see if we can get through some miscellaneous items. The first one, I had a meeting with the recorder and Markey on Friday regarding some things in our handbook. One of them being, the elected officials training fund. And one part of the handbook that talks about, overnight stay and the radius that people can stay, overnight. So currently, I believe I'm not gonna go from memory, I see what I.
79. It was 80 miles.
Currently, we have the handbook says if you're going a one-day trip, 80 miles or less, you have to drive there and drive back, you can't stay. So we being Marky, drew this map with circles on it, and it shows where 80 miles gets you, where 50 miles gets you, and where, I think he said 100 is the other one, so we don't know that we need that, but, really, according to this map, that you couldn't stay in Evansville, you couldn't stay in Vincennes, Princeton, even with the 50-mile radius. So the 80 miles pretty much keeps you out of Louisville, Bloomington, things that I would consider something that would be reasonable to stay the night before the conference. So as I reviewed it this weekend, I thought that, in a further thing, the state code as it relates to officials doing training, they say the code has an allowance for lodging for each night's preceding conference attendance in an amount equal to a single rate room. However, lodging expense in the case of a one-day conference shall only be allowed for persons who reside 50 miles or farther from the conference location. So the state rule is 50, we're more restrictive, we have it at 80. I would think that it would be, I don't know that it changes a whole lot, but I would think that I'd be comfortable moving hours from 80 to 50 to be in alignment with this code. That'll be one part of the discussion I had with that.
I would tend to agree with you. I think, especially early morning conferences, getting up and driving 80 miles is a pretty good drive, and I think it's a little much. I think 50 sounds more in line.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's take these piecemeal. So I don't even, how do we do a change in the handbook? I don't recall. I know we make a motion and then it's
Well,
just
we're
done.
getting ready to redo it,
Right.
but what you can do is make a motion to change whatever section. I don't know what section of the handbook it is.
It starts on page 97 in the handbook. I do remember that.
If we wanted to go into effect immediately, we would need a motion. Or we can put whatever date we want on that, or we can simply,
We're working on the handbook right now, so.
eventually we will have a motion on the entire handbook.
Right.
So, I mean, we could,
Yes.
if you want to, you could do that, but we may want to put this into effect immediately, I don't know.
This would be under handbook, page 98, 5.16 business travel.
5.16.
And that's where it talks about overnight accommodations within 80 miles. I would say, my idea would be to put that into effect immediately. So even though it won't be in the written book at this point, it will be in line for them whenever that comes through. So I'll move that unless you have a comment you want to add? Okay. I'll move that we change the mileage from 80 miles to 50 miles for overnight accommodation.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. The next part County elected officials training fund, from my reading of it, allows for, I looked at each of these codes, so it's the clerk, the auditor, the treasurer, the recorder, and the surveyor are the only ones that can use the fund for their training.
That's by statute.
Right, that's what the statute reads here. There's about $26,000 in it. The council appropriates, I think, $10,000 per year to be used by elected officials. And
Which is the budget that the recorder set out.
the odd thing is, if you go to these conferences, the State Board of Account Conference might be Tuesday and Wednesday, and there's a association meeting on Thursday. Or I think in her case, the recorders was Tuesday was a state board meeting, Wednesday was the association, and Thursday was the state board meeting again. And so they are only allowing 2/3 of the hotel to be paid out of the training fund because it's for a state board called training. So they, you know, they do those little advisories. The state board of accounts will put out advisories that say, the law says this, but we read it and interpret it to mean this, and if you follow what we say, you won't be cited for it. So even those things that go to non-state board meetings, they're wanting 1/3 of it paid from, basically they want it split up. Some of it could be out of that county training fund, and some of it has to be out of county general appropriated funds for travel, mileage, and those kind of things. My goal is to, a couple things, contact our state legislatures and legislative people and say, can you change that rule so that it's for training for any elected official? For one, I think would be nice, because otherwise the money will continue to build, and it can't be reverted to the county general. So for one, I'll see if,
Stays in that fund. The money stays in that.
yeah,
fund.
that money, so it's just gonna keep growing. We're never gonna spend $26,000 in training that I can think of. And to get some clarification, so when I asked Jackie, I said, well, why can't the coroner use it for training, or why can't other elected people? And she gave me that code, and I looked, and it's only really for those certain offices.
Now, last year was a bad example because none of us traveled.
Right. So anyway, I don't even know what I'm asking, really. That 50-mile thing was the number one thing, but just something we should look at about using that county elected officials fund. And I did talk to Mike Cleaser, and I asked him to consider bringing it up to those offices during budget time and say, every penny that you can use for your travel and mileage and hotel, try to use it out of this.
I
We
do
do.
It covers other people in our office too, like if I would take a staff member to a
deputy.
clerk's
Yeah.
state board of
They
accounts,
opened that. It used to be the elected official only. They opened it to the deputies now.
yeah, just recently.
I do use that fund, but we can't use it for state board of account, right?
Or opposite. You can use it only for state board of account public meetings.
Right, so your treasurer's association, according to what I'm hearing, you're not supposed to use it for that. To
Correct.
me, that's still training. Why
Right.
don't they let it up to the local rule to determine what training is appropriate? So those are the things that I think, unless the board is opposed, I'll probably reach out to Mark and Shane and those guys and say, can you have your people look at this? Is there a reason we couldn't change it for, till that local rule decides what training it's used for, and then two, can we open it up to other elected people? It's especially handy if a new commissioner or new council person gets brought on, that you could use this for before they're put into office, you know, that early
I
training.
did that training when I was elected as council, and I didn't realize it couldn't come out of that fund. It seems kind of odd that I would go to newly elected official training and it would come out of that fund, you know?
Right. So,
So like
and where the
That
money,
doesn't make sense.
where the money comes from is the recorder takes, just for a short version, the dollar things that are recorded goes into this fund.
The more flexibility you can have with it. Makes sense, the better it is. I don't want to open it up, well, I want to be fair with it. And if we open it too far, are we going to be short money? It doesn't sound like that's likely to be the case.
And, the other thing with, going back to that mileage situation, currently, like if someone wanted to stay at French Lick, they couldn't. Not even paid for this, but according to the handbook, but the handbook also says you can get, you ask the commissioners and the commissioners can approve it. What I told Jackie last week was, you have a good reason to be there, like you're on the board and you're helping set up and I don't think that the commissioners, from my opinion, would say no to that. If you have a legitimate public interest, good reason to be at a train, and you need a hotel room, I think that would be approved. So people do have that option, even if it doesn't fit within what's in the handbook, they can get permission to do that.
I think generally, to your example about boards, I think generally when you're on the state board like that, the state board funds that.
They pay for your
I know they would with commissioners.
That does happen a lot.
But that's just talking about your example. I mean, you make a good point anyway.
But I'm sure, you know, if anybody wanted to come and say, hey, I've got a good reason to do it, it would be reasonable and let it happen. What I suggested to Jackie is the reason that's good is because it covers them, because not only that they shared with someone else what their plan was and that more than just them said it was a good idea. So that it doesn't appear that government officials are taking hotel rooms or travel willy-nilly. It's being looked at and audited. So that's not. I think that's all I had on that.
So if you're gonna lower it to 50, I don't know if French Lick's in that yet.
You don't know what.
No, French Lick
French Lick is
is a
still
lot shorter
not,
than that.
it's shorter than that.
And you have to take it from the courthouse, not where the person is.
Right. So if somebody does want to go to those things, before we can pay the claim, we'll need your approval.
Correct. If you want a hotel room. Not if you want to go, you can go.
No, I know that, I meant that when I
Like,
said,
can we include, I don't know how I would word it, but something in there that, you know, if it's a 2 or 3 day thing in French Lick, or I'm not sure, where like, Evansville's right at that 50-mile mark, I think it might be 60. If it's 2 or 3 days, you know, it's one thing to drive down there to the first day, but if you got a second day on top of it, and it lets out, you gotta drive home and drive back again the second day, where we could allow a route for that night. And I don't know if we could write that into the policy, or if we just need to do that, per episode, or.
I think I like the idea of it being an exception, that we could grant if we choose to do that. I mean, we do pay mileage,
Right,
so it's, you know.
but we gotta keep in mind people's time and whatnot too, that's all valuable.
And I would say, what I would look at is if they say, I want to go down, I think one of our events has, you can come up and play golf on Monday. I don't know that I feel comfortable using county funds to pay for a Sunday night hotel to play golf on Monday, when the conference really starts on Tuesday.
Right.
So I think if they should come and probably.
Cause I know like our commissioners conference, I tend to ride up the night before and stay in the hotel, but on the last night, when it lets out at like 6 o'clock, I drive home.
Right.
Rather than stay and get up in the morning and go home. It's just, I guess some people will treat it differently.
And I would even throw in the example of a conference at French Lick where, you know, 4 to 6 hour conference in the morning and the afternoon or something like that. And then spending the night and so that you could enjoy a show or the casino or something like that. I don't know that that's the idea of what we have in mind.
Right.
It's close enough you can drive to it.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We have jail project on the agenda. The first part being the bond closing update. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do the bond closing update, and then if our friends from Shireman have anything I'm sure they have something they want to discuss, they can bring that up. I received a call from Rick Hall this morning, our bond counsel lead, and he said that the bonds were closing this morning. Everything is in order. He said they would send me an email when that was done, and it's now done. I checked, and so we have, those funds have been deposited into our trustee account. They were wired, and Shannon at Old National has verified that she received the fund. So as far as that process goes, that is done. The bonds are sold, we have the money. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Continuous disclosure, I'm not sure what that is.
As part of the bonds, this is an agreement we can enter into, and it's our recommendation that we do enter into it with Baker Tilly to handle all continuing disclosure requirements associated with the bond. And there was an engagement letter in terms of that contract, which has gone back and forth a couple of times, but it is in its final form for acceptance and approval.
I think it is.
And what is the source of paying for this? Would it be out of the CNR funds from the?
No, it cannot be CNR funds that we understand.
I think the way we have it set up is that the Sandy will begin budgeting for that. The first funds they'll just come out of general.
Fund. I talked to the council at the last meeting and it was kind of a consensus that I'd start putting it in my budget because it kind of helps me with the disclosing.
Correct.
And it'll be for the life of the bonds.
Right, and the discussion that we had with the provider was that those fees were not, I know it's all relative, but they were not hefty fees on an annual basis, and to avoid any sort of extra unnecessary scrutiny with CNR.
So my shortened version is, you gotta fill in paperwork because you got bonds, and they're gonna help.
Well, you have to keep them notified of anything, any big changes in the county, any big, if we bond or if we have any other debt, we have to do, and the rating changes on the bonds and.
The county still has some obligations, but Baker Tilly will be assisting with doing all the reporting requirements.
Makes sense to me.
It's a good idea. And I'm sure the auditor's office would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know much about bond ratings and all that rating changes and all that.
It not only makes sense to have Baker Tilly involved, it also makes sense to take it out of general fund, I think, rather than the CNR.
Well, they said you wouldn't want them to come back and say that's not eligible and then you have to pay it back.
Unnecessary scrutiny, is that the way you said it?
I think that was my phrase, yes.
Or because we have people knowing what they're doing, we can have all the scrutiny we want.
That's true, yeah.
And he recommended we do this.
I wasn't saying you didn't have the skill to do it, just this is something.
You say
we do
whatever you want.
As a normal. So I'll pass this over, only have a place for one signature. What was the bottom line cost on that?
Is it not in there?
Oh,
He
yeah.
said 2,000-3,000.
Correct, on an annual basis, it was around $3,000, I think. But it depends on what it is we're doing because it's an hourly rate.
I'll have to look over your shoulder as you get to the money part again.
Yeah, it says hourly rates on the back. There's not an exact. No, somewhere in there is like an hourly rate
Okay, sure.
schedule.
You're looking for hourly fee, fixed fee.
Equal to the number of hours multiplied by the rate, and that's on the next page. Nice little charts.
Somewhere. There.
Is it you and me?
Yeah. Working that over an hour a week.
Or we done by lunch on Friday. Okay. I'll move that we approve the agreement with Baker Tilly for continuous disclosure services.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Something I did want to mention before we get into the next part with our friends here. I sent you, I believe yesterday, I sent an email showing what our estimated jail income tax revenues remaining would be for each year. And this was the draft that was put out in April that shows that we worked. I think the original draft that we had showed $580,000 a month for been left over. This updated draft showed $885,000 a month, and then the one that I sent yesterday was $1.1 million. So I just wanted you to see that because of the favorable bond conditions and the favorable bids that we got in, the amount of money left over for other things such as rehabilitative services or for any other number of projects, or for paying down sooner, will be higher. So I just want to hand that out.
Same email.
And the point, the point you've made before, is that there's no inflationary, cost, or not cost, benefit built into the revenue.
This is showing that everyone whatever money people are earning today, they're not gonna earn any more money over the next 20 years. This is conservative.
In 2021, where we had numbers, it's already exceeding that.
Right. So those are very conservative, I would say.
And we are expecting a lit surplus. We've been notified, you know how they hold up to over 15%? I think they have more, and we're expecting a surplus to be coming soon.
Mr. Shireman. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Sandy and Greg. You remember on March 31st, we opened up bids on March 26th, and you all were here, and we were $1.3 million under budget. Very, very fortunate, very happy. Sent a letter out on March 31 recommending the 3 low bidders because their bids were good and responsible and responsive. Since then, Mr. Snare and I have reviewed and tweaked on AIA boilerplate contracts. We met several times together, and quite often on the phone and email, and we've got these things in good shape, the contracts. Crimp for general trades, $15,960,000. These, you guys have seen these numbers. HFI on mechanical, $6,848,848. Wire electric, $2,251,075. Mr. Snare has the wet signatures on 4 copies of 3 contracts, and hoping that we could get you guys to sign those because they're like I say, they're in good shape. And I could leave 2 with you guys, ladies and gentlemen, and I could take 2 with me, which would give me 1, and I could forward the other one off to the contractor. So that's kind of what I'm hoping we could do. Greg, I know you may have some things you want to say.
No, I think that's right. Mark and I have been in numerous discussions and back and forth, and got these to the proposed contractors. They've reviewed them, and
They signed them, yeah.
I think we're in good form, and we're kind of, I'd say we're at the finish line, but we haven't even broke ground yet. So we'll move on to the next important step, right?
And yeah,
So just to clarify again, you said that Crimp, HFI,
Everybody
they looked at them, they have no problems, they're gonna.
yeah, they have signed it, and we have the wet signatures, I call it here.
With the information that's been presented, I'm prepared to move that we award the construction bid contracts formally to those 3 entities.
So as Mark pointed out, there are,
Lots of signing to do.
everything's flagged, top one's not folded back, everyone after that is, so start with the current.
Page 9, I think, Chad.
Agree with it.
I will second your motion.
I think it's just for one.
Oh, just for me?
Yeah, so let's have a motion to approve.
We'll let
to
Chad sign.
authorize- And to authorize you to sign it.
Okay, so I've moved, I'm going to amend my motion that we approve these and authorize myself, the president of the board, to sign for the board.
I'll second.
So the first and a second, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries.
Okay, I'll step back out of the way then.
Well, before you do so, you wanna give us an update on when, the feedback that you've received, I think I'm aware, but
We'd all be better.
you had feedback from the contractors of when they would begin and what their first steps would be? So
Well,
that the
Les can come up and help a little. I think next week, if we can get, if the builder's risk insurance can get signed on, I think Crimps, of course, they're first. There's utility relocations, layouts for trailers, we call it mobilization. And they act excited about getting started on that next week. So, later on in the week. So they're excited and we are too to get going. And we'll have meetings, progress meetings every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. And everyone's invited that wants to come. And that is starting next Wednesday, which is the first one. So then we'll be meeting, reviewing everything, which you guys all of you will get copies. Sorry, Sandy, I keep saying guys,
I'm with you.
People, we'll get copies of all, you guys will get copies of all those meeting minutes.
We'll get notifications of them.
Oh, yeah, you'll get, in the meetings.
You'll get copies on the minutes.
Yeah.
Of every meeting.
Yeah. And we'll be meeting out in a trailer, we'll have a big trailer and we'll have plenty of room if you wanna come out. Huh?
I wouldn't say big.
Well, for us, it probably will be.
It's not big.
No, it's not big. Bill said it's the same one we used in Washington County, so it's not big.
When do those start? When's the first
Week.
one?
Week from Wednesday.
A week from this
26th,
Wednesday.
am I right?
I
don't have
money or anything like that.
That's correct. I think that was the best
So
idea.
there's Wednesday meetings?
Progress, people don't fix that about building jail, but that's kind of
Come
loud.
out Tuesday.
What is the time to start? That's how I look at it. Unless you wanna have
It's been a
something.
lot.
We talked
Yeah.
about that.
They usually last about an hour.
So Wednesday, 10 a.m.?
Really? I just know we did about an hour.
This coming this every other Wednesday.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if we end up doing the judicial building, that's a little nicer, a little more. I don't wanna get too excited about having to build a new jail.
This is gonna be nice.
That's gonna be nice.
Still gonna be a jail.
It's gonna be nicer for the people living there.
Every other Wednesday,
Okay.
a week from Wednesday. That gets, a lot of people say,
So you're starting on the 26th?
Yeah.
Correct.
And we do every other, we don't do that first and third Wednesday, because, it's gonna change. It's every other. Okay.
Right. Brandon Water.
Yes.
We are not catering
Now,
to
Sam,
kosher
this
meat.
is, I got, this is all the time, right, Trey?
Yes, sir.
This isn't,
So they're gonna give
this
you
isn't a
two,
resort.
right? We
This
do
is
get
jail. You're supposed to
for
not.
you guys to
Well,
do
it's
it.
all right. There was a lot of build up to get
Fire. Okay.
Although I get there for myself.
Nothing.
Sandy formed a lot of over bonds.
Tom's the
I'll
church.
take the against that.
I'm saving that money and keeping it safe.
Still let me pay the thing.
Two more orders, I think that was, so.
Two for you, two for me, right? Okay.
Okay, I don't have to send these to anybody, I just keep them on file?
Those are for you. Sometimes we leave you guys two, because sometimes you wanna keep one, and sometimes you wanna give it to the building corporation. That's why we need two, okay? We're gonna get out of your way. Thank
Do
you.
y'all have any questions for Lester?
When are we gonna get done?
Yeah, let's get done.
No, when y'all gonna get done?
We wanna get out.
When do you want me to bring my shovel?
We'll let you know.
And to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the progress meetings.
Good.
I won't be at all of them, but
Well,
I'll.
come out, yeah, come out, you're welcome.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
We'll let you know where it is and all that, but it's a week from Wednesday. Out there somewhere,
Yeah.
somewhere out.
Right now, we still might meet in the
We might meet the
basement
sheriff's
of the
office.
sheriff's office or till Bill gets his trailer set up, but
Yeah.
as soon as he gets set up, gets power, air and all that in them, that's where we'll
Yeah.
be. So that's, I know he's already thinking and working on toward that, so.
So we should start seeing activity out there then.
Hopefully the end of next week,
Yeah,
something, moving somewhere,
so,
something.
Cool, thank
well,
you.
you're around, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Mark,
Yeah.
you got these by emails before this, and
It says it again.
I'll pass them on and say.
Prince will be in here. in-
That's great. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
So that way we can send the-
need to add that, other,
Here's what she had on here, Chris had also out. I could switch the page to the one.
type it up, and I'll put in just that one little handwritten part. But I think we did approve that earlier,
Yeah, you did.
just with that change.
It's already done, so.
Does the county attorney have anything additional?
I'm sorry, yes, I do.
Okay.
I would request permission to attend Indiana law update for municipal attorneys. It's being held virtually, so, no travel. So I don't need to worry about the mileage we discussed earlier. It's $150. It's a 2-day seminar, and it's discussing things such as ARPA and, the new statute for attending meetings virtually and things of that nature may be beneficial. And this was in conjunction with the membership you guys had approved earlier in the year, so it's already paid for itself because this saves $100 by being a member.
Anybody have any questions or concerns about this request?
Nope.
And
I don't-
where are you gonna pay for it?
Out of your budget,
Your budget.
Out of our training budget, is that where we're gonna?
I think, yeah, out of your seminar or training budget is where the other stuff comes from.
How much is it?
$150.
And what is it called, the municipal attorney?
It is the municipal law update. And it's with Indiana Municipal Lawyers Association.
I move that we approve, the attorney's request to attend this municipal law update.
Looks like,
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
So you have it already for us
I
to send
filled
it
that
off.
out, all you gotta do is check that one.
Can do it, can do it.
Anything else, Mr. Stanley?
We'll be taking care of the recording of appropriate closing documents once this meeting is done, so. I thank everybody for your work and coming in and getting things taken care of.
Yeah, thank you. And please remind me where we are for the electronic participation, ordinance.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that's gonna be discussed at this. So I've not done it, that law has passed, I will be doing one. I'd started on one, but I felt that, I don't know, I may or may not wait until this June seminar. I don't wanna wait that long, but I don't wanna have to do one and then redo it.
Right.
Will that be an ordinance?
It will be.
County auditor?
I did almost. But the handbook, we've been through the whole thing now, we're just waiting on the cell phone policy and then we're ready to send it off.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we've been through all the chapters now, so.
Doing whatever was updated.
But we kind of read, they gave us some suggested changes, law changes there, and we read through them and we made sure everything looked good, and so we did some tweaking, like where it said the auditor's office, now it's the HR department, so we did some changes like that, but he'll be given it before we get it approved.
Okay, last time we talked about masks and the temperature machine that is in the courthouse. And I'd like to open it up for discussion on that issue. Anybody have any thoughts?
I shared my thoughts last time. I think, especially now that CDC guidance has changed, I think we should allow our employees who are vaccinated to come to work without a mask, by choice. Of course, if they still want to wear it, they're welcome to. But I think we should open that up. And as far as the temperature kiosk, I said since day one, just having a temperature doesn't mean you have COVID. Not having one doesn't mean you don't have COVID. It really isn't doing anything to begin with, so I think it's time to put it in storage. Get rid of it.
Mr. Brown?
I would agree on that temperature kiosk over here, from the emails that we had this week, it is a liability as far as the card laying on the floor and that sort of thing, and so I would agree that the kiosk could go in storage. Hopefully to stay there, but time will tell. On the mask, I don't know. I get it, especially with the CDC advisory this week, and I'm as ready as anybody to move on past that. I'm just wondering whether everybody else is ready to move on past that. And I don't know if the department heads that are in attendance today have an opinion on it. Whether the health department has
I did talk to Sean about it. Sean said whatever we decide is fair. He said, they follow CDC guidance. They still have to wear it as a health department. There are, I believe at the jail, they still have to wear them, community corrections, so on and so forth, that's covered in the CDC guidance.
Okay.
But as far as the offices, they can decide on their own.
What about the public? If they're fully vaccinated, do we say same rules?
Personally, if it were up to me, yes. If you're fully vaccinated and you want to take off your mask and somebody else lies and says, yeah, I'm fully vaccinated, and they take theirs off, you're still covered because you're vaccinated. You have nothing to worry about. But if you choose to continue wearing your mask, there's no shame in that. That's perfectly okay.
What is the state doing right now?
I think the state has allowed the counties to make decisions for
They are.
the last month and a half. They've allowed us to make theirs, they make their rules for their state buildings, but they haven't.
And what are the rules for the state? I guess that's what I was asking.
They are required within their state buildings still at this point, and on their property, exterior property, if you can't maintain 6 feet of social distancing.
I think I'm siding with similar to what you're saying. A, get rid of the kiosk. B, if people are fully vaccinated, if they're the public or if they're an employee, we should discontinue mask usage. I'd be in favor of that.
I don't see any.
So what, I guess, what kind of messaging would we put on the doors, wherever we have messaging? What would that look like?
I think it would simply say the fully vaccinated are permitted to enter without a mask.
Okay.
But, we have to take people's word for it.
They can't ask them.
Let me make a suggestion. What if we were to say masks are recommended and required for those who have not been vaccinated, something like that.
I'd say advised. Yeah, masks advised for
Advised instead of
unvaccinated.
recommended. But are you saying not required or, in reality, we're not going to be able to make a determination anyway. I guess what I'm saying is that follows the CDC guidelines that if you're not vaccinated, that you're still required to wear masks. It's an empty statement. I get it, but it sets the tone for we are still concerned. If somebody who's not vaccinated walks up to the door and sees that, oh, I have to have a mask,
They don't.
then it's up to them as to how they approach that.
Maybe we can still leave the board out and we can have the sign on the board as well.
We've been going through probably 100 masks a day. We're constantly calling over asking for more
And the
masks.
reason for that is that other places people aren't wearing them, so they're not bringing them everywhere like they had been. So now they're taking one off of it.
Has that increased then?
Yes.
I think if you can walk into a local restaurant, local Walmart, grocery store without a mask on, I don't see why we can't go to our courthouse. mask.
Well, I think that's where we're.
I know, I'm just saying,
That's where we're at.
I don't have a problem with putting signage out that recommends that people who have been unvaccinated keep wearing them. Again, there's no shame in continuing to wear it, even if you don't have to and you are vaccinated. I think a personal choice.
It's just right now, we're going through a lot of masks because people are not renewing it.
Okay.
So just the language, fully COVID-19 vaccinated visitors are not required to wear masks.
Okay.
Or did you want to put it the other
No,
way?
no, you're all right, you're all right, I think.
Commissioner House,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
good enough? Sandy, is that something
Say
that
that
you?
again. Am I right?
I'll hand it to you, but
Oh, okay.
are you satisfied, would it be a burden for you to print those and put them on the door? So.
Now, I
fully-
can't put them on like the health department or the jail or
Right, there are,
those have to, by CDC rules, have to wear them.
But like Steve can put it out at his place, or if you
Right.
make a copy of it and send it to Steve and you put it on these two buildings. Fully COVID, okay, I'll move that we change the policy to state as our policy that fully COVID-19 vaccinated visitors are not required to wear masks. That would also apply to employees.
I'll second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And also, we will,
Thank you, Craig.
we've all agreed to get rid of the kiosk thing.
Yeah.
So who put that out? Who, were you in charge of that, Sandy, or somebody else? Who
I
designated work?
Did
was there, yep.
I just wondered, does the thing do anything other than take your temperature?
Well, it takes pictures of you as you're entering the building.
It's
so we
facial
do-
recognition.
I
We
just
do
We
wondered-
don't have that
recognition of
inactive.
anybody who's been in the building, I mean,
We don't have
it's
facial
totally
recognition.
picture.
Mine comes up on Tom's computer. But
But it's taking
It
your
knows who
picture,
you are.
every time you get your picture, every time you walk by, it is taking your picture, so we know when you came in the building.
I guess what I'm getting at is there any backbone technology in there that can be used for something else instead of just going in a closet? Because it's basically an iPad.
Well, what I was gonna say is it came from the second floor originally. I think one of the courts had used it off-site. And when they returned to the building, they brought it back with them, and then we decided to move it downstairs where the public entrance was. I don't know if the court has a need for it before people go in and out of the courtroom, if they have a desire upstairs.
We'll take it back.
Well, and I would recommend
Since
too
it came
that,
from them.
you know, possibly at the health department, they might like to use it,
Have
so.
another place for it.
They had one.
Well, I know, but I didn't know if maybe a second one would be handy,
I believe community corrections has one.
so, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, if there's a use for it somewhere, if somebody has a, you know, otherwise, you know, I don't know what else to do with it other than put it in storage.
The only other thing we could do is reformat it. I think you could probably.
it's probably an iPad.
I think probation's probably got theirs up and
It's
over,
really
continue
expensive.
there.
Yeah,
$4,000 iPad.
that's called meeting the
But it's
need
on-
of the market at an opportune
It's on a
time.
mic stand.
Right?
Yeah, they moved where the market needed them to, which that's how business works, that's fine. Okay, so that's good, we've got that out of the way. Let's see, what else we have here?
Are there any other COVID related?
So can I say visitors / employees?
Just say all individuals.
Well, I wrote what he had, but you made
Just
a
put it down, so I guess the motion was for
vaccinated
this.
visitors and
Yeah. And then this is what the door should say, and then outside that it applies to employees as well. Whoever's
Yeah,
saying-
any other, you know, speed guards or whatever else is, you know, somebody,
Yeah, can I take those down?
huh?
Can I take mine down?
Should we leave it
Well,
up
I
to
don't know,
the
that's
individual
what
office holders?
I'm asking. You know, if Kitty wants to take hers down, are we okay with that, or would we prefer they stay in place, or is that their decision?
I'd be okay with that being their decision, that's my opinion. That each office holder or, department head, office holder can comfortable. And if Kitty's office is comfortable and, Amy's is not, I don't see a problem with Kitty taking hers down and Amy leaving hers up, for example.
Well,
Yours are permanent, aren't they?
On the front window, it is permanent. We took ours down internally the other week.
we're already doing that.
And
Yours,
the
if
inside
we
of our
moved
office,
the
yes.
thing out, then it would be, there may be
Right, but
permanent.
yours is separating you from the public, so I don't know who told you to put those up or how that all came about.
Well, it wasn't me.
If we just,
It wasn't my decision. I never would have put them up. It was done when I was out of the office.
That's what you get for not being in the office.
Step away for 1 hour.
So are we good here? Yeah, we'll leave it up to the individual, because I'm fine with that.
I will say, if the conversation comes up about sneeze guards and wanting to take them down, let's please put them in storage. We may have another use for them at another time. Please don't just throw them away.
Right.
I would
Think
agree.
of elections and
Yeah, it's an break.
different things. I know, I'm right there with you, but we could use them for other things.
That sounds good. I don't believe I have anything else. Commissioner Brown?
Yes, couple of things, or a few things. We had a bike pedestrian trail meeting, actually a public, we call it a public meeting, public input meeting on May the 6th. And it wasn't real well attended, but the people that were there did ask questions and provide input and that sort of thing. Basically what the input was, or what they were rolling out, is kind of three, and I think I talked about this last time a little bit, about three, I'll call them phases, if you will, or three different ways of looking at trails in DuBois County. And they've got a map, and I've just got it on my computer here, so just to kind of give you a concept of what it is. But the blue routes are bicycle routes, and we're talking now about state highway maps, the state highways within DuBois County. And all we would do if we were to adopt that, all we would do is add signage to those, indicating that those are bicycle routes. And they would be on the state highways with traffic. But like I said, those are for experienced bicyclists. And then the next.
How does that change anything?
How does it change?
Just sign it.
Signage.
that's all
Just
it is.
sign.
Signage.
It gets the ball rolling. That's what it does.
Because, I mean, we can do it now. if we want.
Yeah, and it's an inexpensive way to start the whole trail concept within the county. And what that signage would look like, that would be another discussion for down the road. I know Brett and I have talked about it. Are we talking about just road sign? We talking about painting? Well, it's state highway, so we
State highway,
can't,
we can't
we
do that,
can't
right?
do that. But on county roads, we could paint the bicycles, if you had a stencil, you could paint it right on the pavement. The next level adds some red lines to the map, and these then would be bicycle and pedestrian routes, but again, on public roadways. So now we're talking county roadways, and we're starting to form some connections throughout the county between the various routes. So again, that's going to be on routes that, again, if we do it on county highways, we would have to use a lot of signage, a lot of indication that hey, this is a shared use path. Highway, vehicle traffic as well as pedestrian and bicycle traffic on those roads. And then the third level would be the green lines, and the green lines indicate a designated path for bike and pedestrian only, designated path, a trail, alongside of a highway, or even some might even go cross country, but between Jasper and Huntingburg, for example, is probably the first priority area to develop something like that, between Jasper and Ireland, between Huntingburg and Ferdinand. There's actually one between Ferdinand and the Forest, they've got one drawn along the river up here to take it all the way up to the Cusco area and into the lake. That's probably a dream out there somewhere. That would be very, very expensive. Certainly wouldn't be the first priority. So that's where they're at right now. Now, at the meeting, they took suggestions. You know, I know that Brent and I talked to them about, for example, up here in the upper Boone Township area, there's quite a few homes up in there that are not on the circuit anywhere. And I know you had one over in Jackson Township, Jefferson Township, to move one road over, it might be more effective, and a few like that. So the next meeting, you know, they will go through and they will update all of that, and then there'll be another public meeting. I'm not sure when that is, June?
Pretty quick, yeah, it's might be June.
June sometime, another public meeting, before they move to formalizing the plan and bring it back for adoption. Okay? So that's on the bike. Cell phone policy. Sandy and Marky and I met with the Sheriff's Department, the dispatch. We included EMA, and we also included Dina down here because they don't have landlines connected with the county, so they're entirely cell phone. I think the best way to say it is there is a strong desire to continue to let them use cell phones, county cell phones, as their personal cell phone in some way, so that they don't have to carry two phones. You know, the Sheriff's Department is doing that regularly. The 911, there aren't that many cell phones there, but I think two of them. But you know, they plan to do that as well. We talked a lot also about in those two areas. What is that called, Sandy? That special network that they're on. FirstNet that they're on for emergency use. One of the other departments was carrying two cell phones, but not paying a whole lot of attention which one the personal use came across. The other one was carrying two and sometimes three cell phones. Dina was talking about carrying two or sometimes three cell phones because they've got
The comfort room one.
a what?
They have one for the comfort room.
The comfort room, there you go. I couldn't remember what its purpose was. So I think our policy is going to have to address that in some way, personal use. And probably allow it to a certain extent. Now, whether, you know, we talked about if there's separation from the county, do we allow them to take the phone with them? You know, I'm not there, nor am I at the point where I say they can even take the number. Now, that we discussed that quite a bit, and evidently some of these people have brought their personal number to the county. And that is now their county number. And so they think if they go back to separation, they ought to be able to take that number with them.
I guess my question would be, would we be better off providing a cell phone or creating a stipend type system to where they bring their personal cell phone, they get a stipend for the phone. Then at the end of their service to the county, they would keep their phone because it is their phone.
When I talked with the IRS lady, she said, if you hand a phone to somebody because if it's a need, not just because you're handing them out to everybody, that's one thing. They don't really take exception to it. If you start handing out stipends, $30 to $35 is probably an average. But once you start with money, then they start auditing and looking for those. And then they have to prove every month that they have a cell phone. So they have to bring you a copy of their bill or something to say, I do have a phone.
So it creates more headache than.
That's kind of what she was telling me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it seems like that would be the easier policy because people would already have a personal cell phone. honestly, if I was hired in as a county and you said, here's your new county cell phone, I would probably continue to carry two because I have a personal cell phone.
Well, I made
My
that comment
contacts, my
down.
numbers,
I have so much stuff and people have my number, I wouldn't wanna give my number up to the county, it's been my number since the 90s.
So, my thought on the number part of it is we could create some kind of a grandfather clause. That any new cell phone that was handed out is gonna be a county number, and we retain that number, in the end. If you brought your number to the county, maybe we can, in those exceptions, we can allow them to keep that number when they're separate. It's kind of my thought on that.
We also talked about existing numbers and existing lines are there. If somebody wants a new line, say you need a new one out at, I'm gonna pick on them, say they need a new one out there, they'd have to come and get permission. You can't just get a phone because you want it. Because we'd have to have controls over, we'll have everybody wanting a phone.
Well, it would have to be a department head decision first of all, and then, and then brought to us. So we don't have a policy written yet, but that's kind of the input we got from that meeting and kind of where we're going on that.
I think I mentioned at the bank, you're expected to have one in certain positions and you get $50 a month. And they don't make me prove anything other than I've got to make enough sales that. The bad thing about doing that though is not everybody, even if they work for the county, is responsible. They may not pay their bill, their phone may get shut off and they're required to have one. I mean, at the bank, I have to make collection calls on people that you think would know better than pay their bills on time. Sometimes people don't. So that's the risk you take when you let up to the responsibility of the employee.
I don't know if Mallory has to prove her phone bill or not. When she's at the bank too,
Right.
she's in a different
I'm
position
just
than you
going
are.
by
So I don't know how
what the
that
lady
works.
said when she was on the phone with me.
Right, I don't know how she is
As
with
one
me.
auditor, so.
And that was my biggest concern about personal use of that phone, that really we should be reporting that as a taxable
Exactly.
benefit. But it doesn't sound like that's the case.
They kind of removed that language several years back, she said.
Really?
I'm just looking.
I don't
at
know
it
when it was.
From my point of view, if I were an employee who, I've had my same phone number for over 10 years, if I come into the county and you issue me a cell phone, I'm gonna carry two cell phones because I've had this phone for 10 years. I'm not gonna change my number. And that's what it is.
And that's your choice.
So it's
yeah.
not going to, I guess, to a certain number of individuals, it's not gonna prevent them from having to carry two phones. Unless they agree to give up that number and know that when they give up employment with the county, you're gonna lose your phone number and you're gonna go back to scratch, starting all over again.
I don't know that I like the idea of if we're allowing them to use it for personal use, if they have to give the number back at the end. I don't know that I'm necessarily in favor of that.
I guess it just
You're
kind of,
saying you wouldn't even put it in there at all.
I don't know what benefit it has to us. I don't know what we're losing
Well-
by letting them take a phone number.
In the
It's just more work
discussion,
that we have to let them port it when we're done.
we have to,
We have to sign off to let them port the number when they're done, there's paperwork involved.
and I know in the discussion, we talked about the fact that that number is out there, it's published perhaps on the website or other places as a, as the highway engineer's number. And now he's been gone for 5 years, but people are still calling it. Now, that's his problem. To one extent, it's his
Right.
problem, but it's also the public's problem.
But I don't know that we publish cell phone numbers anywhere, do we, other than ours? I know ours are on there, but I don't know, like, Brent,
I
yours
don't think
might
theirs
be
are
anywhere.
published. I think there's just the highway numbers are given out.
Because we all have office numbers, if we, I think we're in a different situation, three of us, maybe the council, but
obviously we have some things to think about when it comes to our cell phone policy.
Yeah, dispatch has a number because that's the emergency contact, but outside of that, on the internet, it's our office.
So there may be some exceptions too, to, maybe Brent could take his number with him and maybe you couldn't because, yours is published and well known.
Now, they did say if they are given a cell phone and that's what they want to carry, they're expected to answer it within a reasonable amount of time.
Yes.
I mean, that's an expectation of being correct.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with that statement. You guys gave me a phone, I should have it on me.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
And if we need you, you should answer it. Or return it within a week, you know.
Right, I may not have my phone on me all the time, my work phone, but I check it a couple times on the weekends, in the evenings.
And that's what they were saying.
That's very reasonable, in my opinion.
So Mark, the next step is Mark and I are gonna work on putting together some kind of policy, get the committee back together and say,
They can tell you what's wrong with it.
yeah, right. And, then we'll bring it.
Sure, good. Thank you for your work on that.
Okay. The IACC meeting that I had this week, we already talked about the ARP request, money request. And I sent an email out Friday, I think, or Saturday about the South District meeting. Nick said he and his wife are planning to attend. Chad, no. Sandy, both, two of you.
Miss that, man.
And Mark said if you.
I didn't
get
check my
off
ball
the phone-
schedule yet, I'm gonna get back to you.
And you guys?
I will be there for sure.
Okay.
I will register.
Okay, let me know whether or not it's one or two.
Yeah,
Whether Mallory's gonna be
Because
there.
I usually register two of us.
Oh, okay,
I put it online. I got Stephanie gave me
okay.
a login, so
So you're registering your own?
yeah, I always if Linda goes, I always get Steve and Linda on.
Okay,
So
you register your own, I'll take care of Sandy and Nick, and Greg will let me know.
I appreciate that, Alan.
And I'll talk, and I included Marky on that as well. So, okay. And an email from Chris, some email communication from Chris Waltz this week. I was beginning to think maybe that was kind of going away. I didn't know, I hadn't heard anything. I did talk to him at one point. I think they had contacted you and you were pretty busy. So I said I would join the team. And then I didn't hear anything for a long time. Finally had some email communication this week. Maybe tomorrow. We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow. At least that's what he's trying. He set it up for Wednesday and there were some people who couldn't make it. So now we're looking at tomorrow, sort of a brainstorming, organizational type meeting to try to get something going on that. So it's still there. We're still working on it. The TIP presentation, I don't really have anything new on that. I simply went to the redevelopment meeting and read the letter that we signed. And, had some interesting feedback from them. I think we kind of surprised them a little bit that we had any concern, but some of them, but they took it, I think, seriously, and there was a lot of discussion about maybe shortening the time period from 25 years down to 15 years. And as far as the pass-through, they encouraged, if there are any projects that we feel like we would like to use some of that TIF money for, to work with them, and there is that opportunity to use that TIF money for other projects, whether it's in the school or the county or the library or wherever it's at. AIC meeting last week was well attended, and I'm trying to think, Sandy, whether there's anything to report out of that. We had a long discussion about all the legislation that was passed or was not passed. But beyond that, I can't think of anything else that came out of that other than Al Lawson's wife passed. You heard that? She passed, it was the next morning, Thursday morning, I guess. Thursday morning. Al Lawson, the commissioner in Spencer County.
I didn't think he was a.
He's not.
He's no longer a commissioner.
Oh, okay. I was
He's
gonna
no
say, I
longer a
thought he-
commissioner, but everybody knows Al.
Yeah.
But he was a
Everybody knows
long
that.
time.
So Marilyn and I did go down to the viewing yesterday and I talked to him a little bit, but other than that, I don't have anything else.
I'll be short and sweet. I have these maps here. These are our regional sewer district maps that we presented at our open public meeting. Currently, the area, Jasper, Honeyburg, Ferdinand, Brettsville, you got a small little area down here that's Bird's Eye. Holland, and this darker blue area here's Ireland. That's how our current sewer districts are. The DuBois County Regional Sewer District would look like this. It would cover the entire county. These are best estimates of who would treat the sewage that, for instance, comes from Hayesville, Portersville, would go into Jasper, Duff would go into Huntingburg. South St. Chenalville are already in the DuBois, but you've got like Kellerville and Crystal up here that would also go into the DuBois water, not DuBois water, Toccoa water. But these are here if you guys want to take a look at them. We did have about a dozen people, maybe 12, 15 people in attendance that had a few questions. And we have upcoming meetings to discuss with Jasper, et cetera, how sewage we can treat.
With
I think
Holland,
it's the 26th.
with Holland and Birdseye, are they satisfied with just covering the footprint that they have?
I believe Holland is already in talks with Huntingburg. I don't know why I need to hold them after this. I think
You're welcome to.
Holland's already in talks with
You want me to hold it?
Huntingburg to go ahead, and Huntingburg at some point will take over Holland.
Okay.
The state doesn't want to issue new permits for people to build new sewage treatment plants, so the chances of getting a new plant built outside of what we currently have, like, Jasper could probably build another plant to service their area, but they're not going to give a permit, for example, to service, say, Celestine. They're already serviced, but they're not
A small community that
they're not handing out permits anymore.
And the reason for that is it's just more for them to do.
They want it to be regionalized, I believe. So that is our plan. The entire plan is just to figure out how to get these people service that are in the areas that really need it. We're not going out to like the farmer that lives in the middle of a 20-acre field and saying, hey, you got to hook up. And part of this meeting was to quell any rumors before they start and just give people a chance to come in and communicate and see what's going on, ask questions, and so on and so forth.
So will people in certain areas, at this point, do you know, are they going to be required to be
No.
on?
No. I believe in the beginning, if we decide to service a certain area, people would be grandfathered in that have newer septic systems, permitted septic systems. If those systems begin to fail, they might, let's say they fail in 15 years after we put in the regional sewer district, then they would have to hook on. And just because the entire map is covered does not mean that all of these outlying areas are going to get sewage treatment.
The guy that lives here at the end of Anderson Valley Road, they're not gonna run pipes there.
Right. So we would probably hit pockets of population that need it the most first and go from there.
The way, I think the way that Toccoa has done that in the past, for example, Chad, if a line comes by your house, you have the option at that point to hook on at a reduced rate.
Right.
If you do it later, it's gonna cost you more money, and so if your septic is working fine, you might choose not to hook on, but then 6 months later, you need to hook on, so that's a decision you'll make at that time.
But
And
we
again,
don't,
are you saying that if mine fails, I'm required to go back on, or can I repair an existing system?
if you are in, let's say your area is serviced by the new sewer district, and you just put in your septic system, it should be good for 20, 25 years. You're good to go for that 20 to 25 years. When it fails and needs to repair, that's when you'd be required to hook on. So rather than go out and spend another, $10, $15, $20,000 to do septic, you would hook on to the RSD and be done.
That was my thought, that you'd be money ahead, unless it's a minor repair of some type. But rather than put in a new septic, you'd be better off hooking on.
The thing where people won't be happy is they have a failed system and they don't care.
Yeah.
And it's running, like you said, in
Right.
the backyard. Well, it's still working as far as I'm concerned.
It runs out their backyard and across their neighbor's backyard, that's the problem.
Right, so if the health
And then,
department would have a complaint, or they would investigate, and somebody would have a failure, it would be condemned, and the water gets turned off until they update or something. Or a determination is made, I don't know what the process is.
Yeah, I have no idea how
Let's
that
say,
process, that would go
the water
through.
company and the sewer company may be two different entities. I don't know,
Yes, Steve?
I'm assuming it would run something similar to what Patoka's is already. If you're gonna hook up, you'll have a grinder pump, it'll be a force main that.
And see, I have no idea. It depends if.
That's all details that haven't been established yet.
Yeah, if the system is where gravity can handle it, then no, you wouldn't have to do any of that stuff. There might be some pumping stations or
Yeah.
something. I mean, there's a lot of details. There's no plan.
Okay.
Right now, it's just a map. And the map basically shows that, for example, Jasper would probably treat Hayesville, Huntingburg would treat Duff, and so on. So where is the sewage gonna flow into? And then, we contacted all the current sewer districts like Huntingburg and Jasper and so on and so forth to ask them where their lines are now, as well as what their future expansion may look like. We don't want to draw their future expansion into our district. That's for them. Just trying not to step on any toes, trying to work regionally with the different cities and towns to just make sure that the people who can be treated.
The lines look like they make sense.
The benefit of the district is to get everybody communicating.
Right.
Probably the various entities, how can we serve the most people? Anything else?
That's all I got.
Anything from the public?
The only question I have yet is, okay, who's all got copies and where do you want these books? 'Cause
I've
I'm
got
trying
a
to make
copy. I'm
list.
gonna leave mine here.
We have
So
three.
I don't need one in the book.
You don't necessarily have to put one down for me. You can put it down as commissioner ring, because if I need it, I will come here and check it out and go through it and bring it right
So
back.
really, does the council, I'll let them know if they wanna take one with them, but if they're gonna leave it here, there's no reason to have two of them sitting in here.
Right.
I think Mike would probably want to take one to look at least, so
And then you both are taking one.
I'll take one.
Elmer's in
Sure,
the drawer.
I've got mine in my drawer there.
I just don't wanna drag it home and it's 4 or 5 years, maybe longer,
We
and
need
I've got.
You're just gonna take the one for your office.
You guys
I
have
have
one?
to bring it back
I
to the
gave
next
them
guy
mine.
that's left in my seat, and where to go in 8 years or whatever.
I'd say the sheriff's department probably will take two, and community corrections could take one.
One, two. You're gonna take one, right?
Yeah, I'll probably have one for my truck, my office at home,
So,
like 3 of them.
10.
So then
What
we
do
can,
you want?
Just keep it real.
I just want one. I joked, I said I was gonna put one in my home, my office, and my truck.
he never wants to be too far from
We're in the shop.
You have to tell us when you're telling a joke. We're not
Well,
used
does
to
it
that.
have to
I
be
do have- I'm
911 or
sorry,
anybody like that?
I would say, we could just send an email out and say we have 4 of these.
Brent knew part of
I do.
Well, I just want to keep a
It
list.
sounds got one
it's
exactly
easier
like it too.
now. And then you said, okay.
I think I'm finished. All right. We'll close the meeting.
All right.
I do have a question. I didn't want to ask it for the record. Are we still looking at a judicial center and where are we